Do you think that just because you're good at sales means you'll make a lot of money in sales? I see a lot of high ticket closers spending a lot of time and effort doing random role plays in the wrong things. And it pains me because months of their lives go by without their commission checks really budging. I became one of Jeremy Miner's top closers, not because I was that good at sales, but because I wasn't. So I used systems and processes to make up for that. So recently I was invited to speak at a mastermind here in Dubai in front of a dozen business owners. And in this talk, I shared a little bit of both.
Another way is productizing your sales calls. So we hear about like productizing your service, right? But what I struggled with when I first got into sales was, okay, you have a sales script, right? You hop on a sales call, but when was the last time a sales conversation went exactly how the sales script was written out? I can't remember. Because if that was the case, dude, everyone would be closing at 80%, everyone would be making millions rain from the sky, right? That's just not how it works because human conversations are messy. It's not so rigid, right? So what I figured out was, okay, so typically what happens is this, right? There's maybe 2 or 3 different types of answers a prospect could give you. For example, hey, do you know what kind of help you're looking for, right? And then later on, you may ask them like, well, let's say, okay, what are you doing to get leads now? And they say, well, word of mouth and referrals. And then you ask them, well, do you like it? From that question, they can only give you maybe 2 different answers, maybe 3. Yes, I like it. No, I don't like it. Yes and no. And so I figured out, okay, cool. If that's the case, I see a pattern here. There's about 2 or 3 different types of answers they can give it, especially if you ask it well with the right tonality. So I thought to myself, oh, let me just map it out, right? Because you ever get in an argument with somebody, and then you get in an argument, and then you go home one day, you're just taking a shower, and you're like, fuck, I should have said this to that person. And I would have smoked them. So, and I'm like, and you ever sales call, right? And then you hop off that sales call, you're like, man, I should have said this on that sales call. You ever have that moment? So I'm like, well, might as well do that before, right? So I don't have it here because we don't have a projector or anything like that, but I have something called a sales decision tree, which basically maps out, doesn't matter what answer the prospect gives you, there's different types of questions you can ask to go back to the conversation and facilitate towards the sale. So that's long story short about me, but if you have questions about sales specifically, we can go around the room or something like that, and then we can get into some Q&As.
How do you do that if you've already introduced urgency? Because like when I do my pitch and put forward the price, I say, listen, it's like 5K, but because I think you're a good fit, I can actually waive that down to 2.9. So you've already used that ammo, or do you wait?
Oh, you wait. Yeah, you don't mention that because you want to have leverage. You mention it. So let's say the paid in full is 5K, and let's say if they do a 3 pay, it's 2K a month for 3 months, so it becomes 6K, right? So you don't pitch it at 5K, you pitch it at 6K. The reason why is because if you pitch it at 5K, then now if you introduce the payment plan, now they're like, oh, I gotta pay more for that. So you're disincentivizing the payment plan, right? But if you pitch it at, let's say 6K, and they get the paid in full discount, now you're incentivizing the paid in full.
So would you say, like, when you're presenting your price, like, say it's like 4 months, $1,000 a month for 4 months, like, would you just tell them $1,000 a month for 4 months? And then, like, if they are hesitant, then pull out the, like, 3,000 up front?
How I would do it is structure your payment plan in a way where it incentivizes people to pay in full, right? So let's say if they pay the 4 months up front, it is, let's say 6K, right? And let's say if they end up doing the 4 pay, then it becomes 8K a month total, like 2K a month times 4, so 8K total. Pitch it at 8K, right? And then let's say like they can only put down 2K. Oh, hey, by the way, did I mention that if you pay in full, it becomes 6K, so you're saving $2,000. And then you run the rest of the payment. That's how you collect more cash up front, gives you guys more resources to run more ads, hire people, and things like that. Yeah.
How much have you found that actually increases your cash collected by?
By a lot. I mean, before I think my cash collected was maybe 40-50%, okay. And then it got to 70-80%.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so collect more cash up front. So you want to structure that. Okay, cool. So the question is there a way to distinguish smokescreen and genuine? I'm just repeating it just so people can hear it. Yeah, so it's by going through the process, right? So it's the objection handling decision tree. I have a whole flow chart for it, but essentially what you do is the same process we did in the role play, right? Money aside, do you feel like this could help you get to where I want to go? And then, and by the way, like a quick way to do it, if they give you multiple objections, typically it's smokescreen or fear-based, right? So in our world, we distinguish as logistical objections or fear-based objections. Logistical is they want to do it, it's just like logistically they can't do it. Let's say, for example, like they don't have the money, they really want to do it, but genuinely money is the only reason. Fear-based is maybe they're saying is something else the reason, but it's like maybe they explicitly say, I've been burned before, how can I trust you guys? What if this doesn't work? that's a fear-based thing, right? If they give us things like, hey, I gotta talk to my business partner, and they jump to another objection like, yeah, I've been burned before. Typically, that's what's called Pinocchio effect in psychology. So it's like whenever they give you like multiple, because they're in so much fear, so their brain's not thinking rationally and logically. And so that's why they start spitting stuff out. So that's why you isolate it, money aside, da 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 da. And then after that, if money's the only reason, okay, cool. So knowing that you feel like this could help you get to where I want to go and the money does work, where would you like to go from here? And if they give you another objection, typically it could be fear. Because what? Logically, okay, they said this could help them get to where they want to go. They have the money for it. So logically, there should be no reason to actually move forward. If they give another reason, that's a fear base.
I was giving you a real life scenario. What happened was 2 weeks ago, got on the call, exact same thing he was telling me. He's telling me he's going to come through 26th, 27th, etc. But
Yep.
That question where you said how much do you have to work with now and everything else,
Yep.
very
So let's break down what we did, right? So whenever we get an objection, the first step is we gotta isolate the objection. Okay, meaning that the person could tell you different things, right? I gotta go think about it. I've been burned before. It's too much money. I gotta talk to my partner. I gotta talk to my spouse. My dog's sick, right? So in that case, whenever they give you different objections, if we don't isolate and clarify what the real concern is, then we're just going to a blind room and like, where do we go, right? That's why if you ever feel like whenever you get an objection, you don't know where to take it, that is why, because we lack clarity, right? And so whenever they give you an objection, doesn't matter what objection they give you, you first go, not a problem, brother. Money aside, do you feel like this could help you get to where you wanted to go? And the reason why, even if they say, think about it, partner, doesn't matter. The reason why is because most of the times it's about the money. And we need to isolate, do they have the money, yes or no? So that's why we say it in a casual way. We don't get like, but bro, because the moment you seem flustered to the prospects, you're dead in the water. Especially because you guys are talking to business owners, right? Now, these business owners have been in business for quite a while, and so they can sense it from people, right? So the moment you get frustrated, irritated, flustered, they're just gonna shut down, right? So not a problem, brother. So it's like, oh good, money aside, do you feel like this could help you get to where you want to go? And they'll say either yes, going back to the decision tree, right? They'll say yes, or they'll say yeah, and if they seem a bit hesitant, whether from their words or from their sub-communication, when I say sub-communication, it's the non-verbals, meaning your tonality, your body language, your facial expression, and the prospects, right? So this is a term known in the dating world, they call it sub-communication. And so when you see that, they seem a bit hesitant, you want to clarify on it, right? So, if they give that kind of nuance, you're like, you don't seem too sure what's behind that. And then they'll say, oh, the thing you talked about, the ad spend, I'm not quite sure about that. They'll bring up whatever, right? So you can clarify there, but if they say, like money aside, I feel like this could work for me. Okay, but why though? So you clarify, what that does is now they have to tell you, but more importantly, tell themselves on why they logically justify themselves, why this could help them get to the desired solution, right? So at the point, because I think you guys calling the leads for us, confirming the leads, the higher qualities, I think that would be great, right? Okay, that makes sense. And then now you want to isolate the money. Okay, so if you first isolate value, money aside, do you feel like this could help you? And then you go into the money, right? So this is the decision tree, like value, then money. And so you go into the money.
They say something like, well, it depends on the money, because I've had that. Some of them say like, yeah, it sounds good, but it all depends on the money.
That's why you got to let them know how much it costs, right? So in your pitch, you go through your steps, right? Here's how we solve the problems for you, and here's how much money that would involve for us to help you get to your desired situation, right? So it's like $6K for 3 months, or Aspen, however you guys structure, however you guys pitch it, so that they're aware of how much money they have to spend, right? So after that point, okay, cool. So I would suggest, depending on how you guys structure it again.
Sorry to interrupt. I usually ask it before I go into the pitch, because I've learned something from Charlie, Charlie Morgan, right? Yeah, one thing I learned about him was he was like, never ask for pricing, never tell them pricing right away, let them ask for it, so you can root out all the pre-objections before they ask.
Yep.
So what I do is when they say, yeah, let's go into money, I ask them, do you feel like with what we presented, can this get you to your goals?
Yeah, you do that first.
But then they say, it depends on the money and stuff like that. Should you do anything?
Okay, I get. Okay, so yes. Okay, so if they say, oh, depending on the money. Well, money aside, because we're gonna get to that, but money aside, do you feel like this could help you get to where I wanted to go?
So it's just reinforcing.
So it's like you deflect and then boom, re-loop back to the question.
Got you.
Right, and so that's how you control the conversation. And so after that, right, so you isolate the money. So I would suggest, here's how I would do it if I was to sell lead gen, right? Instead of searching like $2K a month, pitching like that, how I would do it is I would pitch the paid in full price for like 3 months, for example. That's how I would do it. Because now what it does is now it gives you ammo and leverage to actually break down into the payment plan later on, right? So how do it, like, let's say it's like 6K for 3 months, right? And if they can do it, they cannot do it, and say, okay, cool. Is it more so the upfront amount, or if it could help you break into more smaller chunks, will that make it easier for you? And they'll say, yeah, that'll be easier for me. Okay, cool. Because as you can imagine, businesses that don't have the lead generation process in place, they may not have the whole upfront amount to the whole thing all at once, right? So in that case, what we typically do is we can break it up to half and half, equal amounts, 30 days apart. Would that help you out? And they say they'll either say yes, they'll help me out, or they say yeah, it's still not a lot of money. If they say yeah, they'll help us out, okay, cool. And does that work? You tie it off, and they say yes, cool. Where would you like to go from here? And then at that point, you proceed to the sale, or they give you another objection, right? If they cannot do the 2-pay, I would go into the 3-pay, right? If they cannot do the 3-pay, after that, I would go into the financing, offer the financing, and for whatever reason, if they don't meet the credit score criteria or whatever it may be, then what I'll do is, okay, cool. So there's a difference between ableness and willingness, right? Just because you cannot do it right now because of the lack of money doesn't mean you can't forever, right? Because we've had other XYZ clients where they get resourceful, they go find the money, so that way they can put the systems in place to grow the business to 200K a month. That way they're not working 80 hours a week feeling frustrated. So typically what people do is they can get access to money A, B, C way, right? So just list the different ways, right? So like friends or family who can help them out, real allocate on the budget in the business, you give them different solutions, right? And you ask, which one of those things do you feel like you could do? So that way, you can finally get the business to 200K a month, spending more time with your family.
Straight lie to you. Like they'll say, I've had that with prospects. Like they'll say one thing and then they say another thing. So they'll probably say, yeah, it's fine, it's good. But then they'll say, oh no, but money is an issue. So in that case, it's obviously smoke screen because they're lying to you, right?
They can say that depending on the situation, they may have just misunderstood you. They're not even trying to lie. Or second thing is, yeah, like they could be lying because maybe they have some fear involved.
Yeah.
That could be too. Yeah. So that's how you distinguish it. Yeah, not a problem. Any other questions?
I think this is an uncomfortable question. We've seen how you perform, but how much training or practice behind the scenes you put into that actually?
Good question. So this is an unsexy answer, but a lot, especially in the beginning, because sales is a performance-based profession, and you guys are all business owners here. But if you're doing the activity in sales, which is revenue-generating activity, which is how you bring money into the business, right? Later on, you guys may have sales reps already. Maybe later on you bring on sales reps, right? Jin's good at that in terms of like placing sales reps. But in terms of that, a lot. Short answer is a lot, right? So, but you want to distinguish, because a common mistake I see people make is whenever they get a no-show on their calendar, right? And they, what they do is, well, they may watch YouTube videos, they may go on a walk, they may do random role plays. And those things are all great, but how many of those things actually bring in revenue for the business? None of them, right? And so during your selling hours, you actually just want to sell. Just sell, meaning that you take the booked inbound calls, or you go do an outbound, maybe the opt-in leads, phone numbers that came in, you call them up, book them onto your calendar, or you follow up with people that didn't buy. Maybe you check in with your clients, you upsell them, or you renew them, generate referrals, right? So you don't have like scripts and SOP for all of those, but you have that. And outside of your selling hours, that's when you practice and work on a lot.
So how do you strategically train?
You gotta identify your biggest constraints in your sales. So you may have heard Hermoji talk about biggest constraint in your business. When it comes to sales, more narrower, you wanna, number one, track your data, your sales data, and you wanna identify where are you losing the most money to. Because I'll give you an example. So in my training group, one sales rep hopped on and is like, hey Brian, so I keep getting these trust objections. Can I do some role playing and get some feedback on that? Okay, let's say 10 sales calls that hop on, how many do you get the trust objection? He's like, well, 1. Okay, so it's not like a whole big of an issue. What's the biggest objection you're losing the most deals to? And he goes, well, think about it, objection. So why aren't you asking questions on how to overcome and or prevent think about objections? Why aren't you asking me that? Why aren't you working on that? And here's the reason why for a lot of people, because a lot of people focus on, if something's annoying, like emotionally annoying, they focus on that, rather than logically going back to the data and thinking objectively. It's just how human beings are, right? Like if you like really hate like partner objection, oh man, I fucking hate that objection, I need to get better at this. But in reality, let's say you're losing one a week from partner, maybe 6 a week from think about it, then like the best case scenario and you're working on partner objection is maybe you send 1 deal a week you're saving. If you're working on think about it, even if you get half as good, you're saving 3 a week. So because we have limited time, resources, and focus, we want to be focusing on one at a time, right? So Hormozi talked about this too, but the discipline comes from having 50 different problems in your business or 50 different problems in the sales department, but just focusing on one and one at a time. And that is hard because you want to fix everything. It's like, oh man, like everything's like fucking falling apart. You have the fires, but it's about like focusing on one. You're kind of ignoring the others, right? And so that's how you do it. So I like to, whenever you get an objection, go to the very starts. So if you're getting a lot of think about objections, okay, handle it, yeah, work on that. How can we prevent it on the sales call? Now, before the sales call, how can we prevent it happening before the sales call? So there's sales process and there's sales skill set. Sales skill set is what you do on the call itself. Objection handling, tonality, asking good questions, stuff like that. Now, the problem with that is getting better sales takes time. So this is something that no sales trainer, no sales guru will say because obviously it's not advantage to their marketing, right? But just like any performance-based profession, because I've taken acting classes and growing up in Korea, I've had a lot of people, or a lot of my friends were like singer-songwriters and guitarists and stuff like that. I played the violin when I was younger, very Asian, I know, but I was a lead violinist in different orchestras. It takes a lot of time to get better like a skill-based profession like that, right? So it's not to say don't work on objection handling or tonality, absolutely work on that. But a quicker one you can get and a bigger leverage point you can get is from the sales process and activity. Activity is just simply increasing the volume of people you're talking to. So let's say as an example, you have 4 sales calls booked a day on average, and then you have 3 people show up each day, right? So that means you have 3 at-bats a day. It's not a lot, right? But what if imagine during the no-show time, right? Instead of just watching YouTube videos or just hanging out, you could do that. But what if you went into your CRM, follow up with your leads? You have more at-bats now, right? So this is what I call pipeline closing. So typically when I found that, like I have reps do this first and business owners do this first. And when they typically do that, you know, reps go from like collecting 20K a month to 100K a month, collecting 30K a month to 160K a month within like 2 to 3 month time frame. But the problem is it's not sexy, right? I probably have the least sexy marketing message in the history of sales training because track your data and call leads. Nobody wants to hear that, right? It's just like when I was younger, my mom telling me, Brian, eat your broccolis. Mom, I want the chicken nuggets. I want the objection handling reframe. Track your data, call your leads. So that's how you problem solve sales, business, and life in general. And so it's focusing on that. And also going back to sales process is if you keep getting like a certain objection all the time at the end of your sales call, you take all the objection and then you feed it back before the sales call in your marketing or in your sales call confirmation process. So as an example, I highly recommend, if you guys are not doing this already, even as an agency owner, as a business owner, I'd highly recommend starting a YouTube channel and posting long form content on that. And the reason why I mentioned YouTube is this. When I was selling at 7th level, we had a bunch of different lead sources that came in. We had leads that came in from organic YouTube, YouTube ads, podcast, from Facebook ads, Facebook organic, Instagram organic, and a bunch of different lead sources. So what I did was I tracked the show up rate and the close rate for every single lead source. It was like painful and tedious, but I'm like, you know, let me just figure this out because I wanted to know. And what I found is that except for one lead source, YouTube was the highest in show up rate and close rate. And the only lead source that was higher in show up rate and close rate than YouTube organic was leads that came from the websites. Now, my hypothesis is that if someone, because YouTube and like searching on a website, what is that? It's intent-based marketing. They're searching for it. Facebook ads is interruption-based marketing. Russell Brunson talks about this. So interruption-based marketing means that you're scrolling, you see an ad, oh, cool. You weren't looking for it, but like, oh, let me just check this out. Nothing wrong with it, it's just how it works, right? But YouTube and website, you're going in and typing it. How can I get more leads for my dental clinic? How can I get more jobs for our roofing business, right? And the website even more specific, right? They're searching for that, searching for the solution right now. So that's why show rate and close rate a lot higher on the website and the YouTube. Now website, the problem with that is there's only so many website visitors you can get, right, organically. And how are you gonna get the website visitors? Well, you gotta get your brand known, right? So that's when YouTube organic comes in. Eric probably knows too, like the leads that come to your YouTube channel, like probably warm, right? They're like, they know you, they trust you, like they fuck with you, right? So same thing with our YouTube channel. Jun and I do podcasts, and I have my own personal channel as well. It's not like we're trying to convince these people.
They just want to join already.
Exactly right. They're like they know, like I like how this guy talks, like this makes sense, like this guy know what he's talking about. So if you guys can do that for your guys' agency and business, and all you can do is like sit down on one Saturday or Sunday, batch out maybe like 2 hours or 4 hours, just script it out, and then just bang out 4 videos, drip them out once a week. And you can hire an editor for like maybe like a 1.5K a month, right? 1K to 1.5K a month. It doesn't have to be anything fancy to start out. It can just be your iPhone, right? I'd highly recommend that, and it's the game changer, right? So YouTube in the beginning probably is not going to be an acquisition channel for you, meaning that you're not going to get like, it's not like Facebook ads or like just, you know, gangster cold calling. But in the beginning, it'll probably be a nurture tool, meaning that the leads you have generated from cold calling or ads, now you can warm them up before the sales call. So instead of that keep being vague on the sales call, like, so what do you guys do? Hey man, just cut to the chase. Like, what is this all about? Instead of you dealing with that all the time, because guess why they're doing that? They don't trust you. They don't know you, right? Like, would you say that to a friend? It's like, dude, cut to the chase. They're not that hostile like that, right? They're not vague like that, because why? You trust your friends, right? So how do you speed up that trust process is through long form content. And also the reason how I got this idea was because I was listening to a podcast with Alex Hermosi when I was selling for 7th Level, and I was at the gym working out. And then I heard Alex talking about, so we did a survey at gym launch. And then we found out that 78% of our high ticket clients that purchased 16K to 30K packages from us, 78% of our clients went through at least 2 pieces of long form content. And I thought to myself, why am I not doing that? So I started doing it, right? And so I'm like, okay, cool, that makes sense. So that's how I speed up the process. Okay. Any other questions on this or in general?
Yeah, I've got a question about that. So I've got like a real estate marketing agency, but
Yep.
obviously like I've never been a realtor. So when making content, would you recommend making content specifically about like just real estate marketing, or would you say branch out, make it more broad?
Make it specific on your niche and speak their language. So how you do that is, you can look up on ChatGPT, right? It's very important that you speak their lingo, because when I was at 7th Level, there's about a lot of different industries that came in. People from like real estate agents, real estate investors, SaaS, insurance, solar. And so when I first started talking to realtors, I don't come from the real estate world, right? I come from the high ticket world. So I asked the prospect, hey, how many sales appointments are you getting each month? And they looked at me kind of funny. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, sales appointments, like how many are you getting? It's like, so we went back and forth 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, I just moved on at one point. And then later on, the person gave me an objection. I was like, hey, I don't know if this will work for me. I didn't know it at the time, but later what I found out is, oh, because I didn't speak their lingo, they probably thought I couldn't help them with their problem. It makes sense, right? So in the real estate world, they call it as listing appointments as an example, right? So there's like buyers and sellers and stuff like that. So ChatGPT, that's how you learn it. Go on YouTube and see like real estate agents, like marketing testimonial, things like that. Because when you look at testimonials, whether for your own business or from different businesses, testimonials are powerful because you can see, because they usually go over what problems they had before, and they'll tell you that. And then later on, they go about how their business or life transformed, right? So in your YouTube, you don't have to be a real estate agent because you are a marketing expert, right? So you know something they don't. You have a very specialized skills. So you don't have to be that person, but you have a solution to that problem, right? So typically, depending on what kind of prospect you're dealing with, but like the biggest thing is like I've been burned before. So the content I would make is why the previous agencies they hired, why it didn't work out. Why didn't they get the results they wanted? So I'll probably list like the common reasons, like for example, maybe the previous agency from your market research, what the prospects or clients are telling you, you find out that the agencies were generating the leads, but they weren't confirming the leads. And so the leads were being generated, but you know, speed to lead is very important. After 5 minutes since the lead opted in, 5 minutes pass, and that conversion drops by about like 400% or whatever it is, right? So you talk about that. Well, that's typically the reason why. Another reason you could talk about is, most ad agencies, for example, they only test creatives like once a month. But the problem is now that creates ad fatigue. And so because of that, now people, what that means is people get sick of seeing the same old ad, so they don't click on it. What is happening now? You're wasting a lot of ad budget. I just made it up. Like you guys know a lot about than I do, right? But as an example, you educate them on the problem, right? So Eugene Schwartz wrote a book called Breakthrough Advertising. In his book, he talks about problem awareness, solution awareness, brand awareness, and or the product awareness and most aware, things like that, right? So identify, where are my prospects at usually? Are they aware of their problem and the root cause? Why the problem's happening? Then you gotta educate them on that, right? And the solution, right? In your videos, maybe talk about, not even about your services, but what they need to do instead, right? Which is tying back to what you guys offer. So as an example, well, so what you need to do is you gotta confirm the leads as soon as they opt in. You gotta call them right away within 5 minutes. Now the problem is, you're a busy real estate agent, you got listing appointments. You got shit to do, you got a family, you probably have 2 kids. So how are you gonna call every single lead that comes in within 5 minutes? You're seeding doubts. They're like, yeah, because everyone's thought is like, well, I'm fucking busy, I got 1,000,001 things to do. And so in your offer, well, our representatives, our reps, whatever we're gonna call them, our average speed to lead is 3 minutes and 42 seconds. Because guess what? That's their only job. So that's how we're able to do it. So they're like, oh, that makes sense why I have this problem. And I can see this could be a different solution. Because people don't want better, right? Russell Brunson talks about this. People don't want an improvement offer. People want a new opportunity. Oh, it's different from what I tried. So it gives them hope. Maybe this could work.
Yeah. And then with like, so say you've got that YouTube channel as well, would you, how would you ensure that they watch that like in between the booking and the actual call? Would you send that through like automations or?
Yeah, good question. So how I would do it, my personal how I would do it, depending on your sales process and how the leads come in, stuff like that. Let's say you do a 2-call process as an example, right? So what you do is you do like a 10 to 15 minute triage call, discovery call, whatever you want to call it. And on that call, what you would do is simply, I'll do it over the phone real quick, very efficient, right? It's like, hey, is this Eric? Hey, Eric, this is Brian from XYZ Marketing, bro. Looks like you booked a quick call about possibly getting help with your marketing. Is that right? Like, yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. What kind of help are you looking for? We want to get more leads. Oh, what are you doing to get more leads now? Word of mouth and referrals. How long have you been doing that? For the whole time. How long is the whole time? 7 years. Is it working? Yes and no. Okay, let's start with the positives. What is working? It's like, oh, people are happy, they're coming in. Okay, I mean, it sounds like it's working really well. Is there anything you would change about either the way you're getting the leads or, I don't know, maybe the volume or the quality of the leads coming in, if you could? Like the quality is just not that, or the volume is not that many. What do you mean by that? Well, referrals is inconsistent. Sometimes I get 1 a week, sometimes I get none. How long's it been going on? Well, for like the whole time, for like 7 years, yeah. What's that doing to the business? I mean, the business has been up and down too. So it sounds like a bit of an up and down, is that right? Yeah, pretty much. You want to change that? Yeah, I want to change it. Okay, so here's what we can do. I do have to run to another appointment right now, but what we could do is we can sit down for a bigger, longer conversation where we can take a deeper look at your business, what kind of support you may need, and based on that, if it can help, we can just walk you through how we help our other real estate clients solve XYZ problem, the inconsistency, and get to that $200K a month. Would that help you? Yeah, sure, that'd be great. Okay, cool, you booked the call. Okay, how about 3 p.m. Eastern, book the call. Did that pop up on your calendar? Yeah. Do you just want to confirm yes? Because sometimes it just lands in spam. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, cool, I'll see you on Thursday, 3 p.m. Oh, by the way, you actually remind me of one of our clients, Jack. So Jack was also struggling with the up and down because they were just relying on word of mouth. And they've been burned by like different agencies, like, pretty unfortunate. But we actually interviewed them because we helped them with their XYZ system, and now they went from 30K a month to 200K a month. And then we share some of the things we helped them help Jack with. Would you like me to send you the video before the call? Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, cool. I'll send it to you right after this. You just want to reply back to my text that you got it, because sometimes it lands as spam. But yeah. Okay, when do you feel you'll be going to the video? Oh, I get off at work at 5 p.m. tomorrow, so like at 5. Okay, cool. Sounds good. And so that would help you out, get the ground running, and I'll see you Thursday at 3 p.m. Okay, cool. And then you want to have a whole template for it. I have a template for it, right? So you send in the email template, and then you send in the text as well. Did that come through? They're like, yeah, that came through. And so let's kind of break down what we did. So what we're doing is, number one, you got to do a good job on the first call at uncovering the problem. Because a lot of times whenever I review calls or role plays, people just stay surface layer with the problem. So yeah, I just want to get more leads. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Nobody does. Anybody does, right? So it's about what's the problem though, right? Inconsistency of the leads, quality of the leads are bad, they don't have the credit score, they don't have the money, they don't pick up, right? So okay, that's the problem. What's the impact that's having on the business? We're not able to grow. Our business is like stagnating, so on and so forth, right? Because if they don't realize that they have a problem, they're not gonna, number one, it kills show up rate, because why should they carve out an hour of their time to hop on a call for something they don't feel much problem with, right? So that's that, number one. So if you have a low show up rate, if you do a 2 call, on the sales call you have a low show up rate, typically that's one of the biggest reasons, okay? So you solve that, and then also what you do after that, you book them in. Oh, by the way, you actually remind me of one of our clients. So what you're doing, you're not just saying like, okay, great, Jack, so what we'll do after this, I'll send you an email and then watch it. It just goes over their head, because we got to realize a lot of times people are in autopilot mode. Some of you are in autopilot mode right now, being on your phone. I see you guys. So because you're like, oh, just like about my day. That's how most people operate, especially because like TikTok and things like that, Instagram, our attention spans are just fried, right? So when you say, oh, by the way, they're like, huh? It pulls them in. That's what it does. So it's all acting. Right? So I took an acting class to try to, like, one part figure this out. And I also learned this from a guy named Anthony Vazzari, who's a chief sales officer, I think. Is sales now? Yeah. Anyways, nonetheless. So, oh, by the way, you actually remind me of one of our clients, Jack. Jack also had XYZ similar problem. Because people want to know, dude, I have this problem, they want to know, like, are there other people have this problem? So yeah, other people have this problem too. And then by us helping them with XYZ, they're able to solve that and get XYZ outcome. And then we share some of the things we help them with. They're like, oh, I want to know that. Because why? Number one, previous to this, you help them uncover what their problem is, how that's affecting them. Well, I want to figure this out. Well, yeah, like, I'll watch it. And then also, would that be helpful? So you don't say like, hey, could you please watch it? No, right? You guys are experts at what you do, right? It's not like you're being condescending or trying to do like a frame battle. It's like, well, would that help you? Yeah, that'd be great. And then you time bridge when they're gonna watch it. So time bridge is another concept I learned from the dating world, which is, let's say you go up and talk to the girl, right? And then let's say okay, let's get like sushi and Nobu, whatever, right? Okay, cool. So instead of saying like, oh, over Instagram we'll figure something out, what I learned from like those people is like, they actually find out the what, when, and where and how, right? We're gonna go to Nobu. What are we gonna do? We're gonna eat sushi. What time? Thursday, 3 p.m., right? So that's where I got the idea from. So under here, it's like, when do you feel like you could watch it? They're like, now they have to actually think instead of like, oh, maybe I'll forget about it. So you make it more solid, right? So it's like, okay, Thursday, 3 p.m., I get off work at 5 p.m. Okay, great. And then you're giving them an assignment, which is, yeah, and when you get that email, do you want to text me back so I know you got it? Because sometimes it lands in spam. So more buy-in to, number one, watch it, and number two, show up to the sales call.
Would you say that increased your close rate?
It'll help as well, and also it makes your job easier on the sales call too.
Just them already coming in.
Yeah, because the biggest objection I was getting on my last offer was like, hey, will this work for my situation? Will this work for my industry? So I first started with, hey, how can I figure out a way to like overcome these objections, like these like reframes and stuff like that? And then I'm like, well, yeah, but let me try to like not get this in the first place. So I would send them a client case study video of their specific industry and their specific problem. So if they're struggling with like think about objection, I send them a video and like a client case study video of like a think about objection, right? If they were in the real estate niche, I'll send them one in real estate niche, right? So number one, I would not get that in the first place, and number two, even if I did get it, I was like, well, I could just refer back to that. Well, like you did John, the case study video, right? Well, he had the same problem. He was in real estate. Now he's doing 100K a month.
Yeah.
I have a question as well. What framework do you use to ask better questions on the sales call? Like, do you have a framework for that? Did you ask really good questions? So.
Yeah, I have a whole flowchart for it. Like the framework itself is nothing revolutionary. So I learned from a guy named Jeremy Miner, right? I learned from him, and also CEO of 7th Level at the time, a guy named Matt Ryder. I learned more from Matt more than Jeremy, just because I resonate more with Matt, because I don't really talk like Jeremy. Jeremy is phenomenal sales, by the way, but I'm not in my 50s, a white man from Mississippi. Right? I don't really do like those dad jokes, although those are hilarious, right? I can't pull it off like Jeremy. But what I found is a guy like Matt's is like, oh, like it's more conversation, like at least I can more resonate with. So that's more my selling style. On the sales call, I'm not like too like formal, even in a B2B setting, because on 7th Level, I started selling B2B sales training to business owners. But even with them, I wasn't like too serious. It's a bit different, right? With B2C people, you can like hammer them a little bit. but like, or like a small business owner with like a more enterprise level, right? Or like a corporate level, maybe you want to act a bit corporate. But the whole framework is like, okay, what's the overarching desired outcome? What do you want, right? You're not asking like that, but like, do you know what kind of help you're looking for with your marketing? I want more consistency of the leads. I want more quality leads, whatever, right? What are you doing now to get that? That's called the current situation, right? Word of mouth and referrals. Is it working? So that's a problem question, because they'll say yes, no, or yes and no, right? If they say no, what's not working? If they say yes, we go to the same thing, which is there anything to change about X or Y? So yeah, actually this. You find a problem, because if there's no problem, and more importantly, if the prospect doesn't realize that they have a problem or that it's important for them to fix it, why should they need a solution? There's no need, right? So that's why problem is important. And then after that, before you start talking to me, we're after looking for ways to get the more leads so you can grow the business, or what have you been doing? So you go into that because guess what? Especially in what you guys sell, is they may have been burned before. Maybe they tried to add agency before. Maybe they tried something before, and then now, guess what? If you don't address it here, why it didn't work, most importantly, why they believed it didn't work, well, if you don't address it there, later, guess what's gonna happen at the end of the sales call? You're gonna get into the objection, right? So you're gonna get that, and now, if they haven't looked for a solution, why? We'd wanna know that, right? Because if they didn't try anything, and they've had their problem for like 9 months, alarm bells going on in my head. You had this problem for 9 months, why didn't you do anything about it? Oh, you know, man, like busy with work and da-da-da. But we all know, if someone's really committed to solving their problem, they're gonna find the time for it. It's not like they don't have the time, it's just that they didn't make the time. And I'll just say that in a question format, right? Hey, could it be possible that it's not like you didn't have the time, it's just that you didn't make the time to solve this, to grow the business? You okay with me saying that? They're like, yeah. So how do you feel like you need to change within that? That way you don't have to keep being in that roller coaster for the business for another 8 months being stressed out. Well, I guess I need to find the time. Yeah, we both know you need to find the time, but the question is, are you willing to take accountability, responsibility, and find the time? I am. Okay, but why though? Well, because if I don't do anything, then my business is just gonna die. So we ask why or why not on something that's gonna benefit the sale. Because when you ask why, now they have to convince not you, but themselves on why they're willing to change. Right? So it becomes more difficult for them to get out, right? We did a role play right there. You mentioned that it was kind of hard for you to get out. It's a similar situation there. So imagine you do that for every step of the sales call, right? After that, you go into, okay, so let's say, because I want to make sure what we do would work, what are you sort of looking for in like maybe like an ideal criteria in like a partnership for you to grow the business? So in that way, we're trying to find out is what's the ideal criteria of the desired solution? And they may say stuff like, well, we want like frequent monitoring or reporting. We want that. We want to know what's happening with the ad budget, right? We want like an account manager so we can, if I have a problem or question, we have someone to contact with, so on and so forth, right? So guess what you're going to do later? In your pitch, you're going to say that. So they're going to feel like, man, I need that. But they told you it, right? So that's how you do it. So you can also ask like, yeah, so that having the account manager, like the frequent reporting, why is that important to you? Well, because, you know, previous agency, like we hired them and they never like got back to us, they ghosted us. That sucks. Okay. And then in the pitch you say, well, you know how in the previous agency they ghosted you and that kind of sucked? So you have a dedicated account manager or whatever support system you guys have. That way you don't have to be left out in the cold. If you have a question, we answer it within 12 hours or whatever. So you do that. But in the discovery, after you do that, okay, cool. So let's say, you know, we're able to come in, help you with the leads and get to the 200K a month. I mean, why would that extra money allow you to do in the business that you can't do now? Aside from just the obvious of growing. I like to put that after the question because typically what I found with these business owners is like, we'll be able to grow. I'm like, no shit, Sherlock, you have more money. But I realized I kept getting these answers. I was like, well, let me just preface it, right? Aside from the obvious of growing. But you say it like that. It's like, oh, you know, we'll be able to get more locations. We'll be able to hire more staff. I don't have to work so much. How many hours a week are you working now? 70 hours a week. It's all right, you're a single guy. When you clearly know they're not a single guy. And the reason why is because, no, I have a wife and 2 kids. So you're doing a takeaway, right? Instead of saying like, but isn't it hard because you have a family? You're saying, that's all right, you're a single guy. It's like more painful, right? They're like, no, right? So at that point, how old are your kids? Well, one's 5 and one's 3. You're in the thick of it. They'll kind of laugh, like, yeah, that's right. So I mean, you working 70 hours a week, I mean, what's that doing to you being able to spend more time with your family? Yeah, I mean, I haven't been able to spend more time with my family. Like, what are you missing out on with your kids? Not going to the soccer practice. And I mean, brother, I mean, can I ask a more personal question? Yes, sure. So, because I've been on the other end, but you missing out on your children's childhood because they only get one childhood, right? How do you feel about that? Yeah, man, it's I feel a bit guilty. In what way? You know, because I want to go there. I'm their father, you know. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. But how things be different though? So you dig out more personal pain there, but don't force it. It's even if they mention it, right? But no need to force it. But if they mention things like that, you can pull out more emotions there, and then you go into the transition, which is like, oh, how would it be different though? Like you being able to not work so much because you can bring in more staff. That frees you up. You being able to spend more time with your kids. How do you see your life being different? Oh, it'd be great because I can pick them up from school, da 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 da. And how would that like make you feel as a father though? No, that would be great. And with the current lead generation process you have in place now, how close are you to being able to get to the 200K a month being the father? They're like, not close at all. Why is that? Well, because we don't have the system. So you go into not just about the 200K a month, but you being that desired identity.
I do have one.
Yeah.
A lot of the people, I don't know why, it's been like the past week, it's been really weird. The past like 5 calls at the end, they go, yeah, I'm just not one, like I never buy on the first call. So I'm going to do my due diligence, look at other companies as well, hop on other calls.
Yeah.
And then come back to you.
It's not a problem at all. Let's say we go through the money, right? Let's say we go through the money. It's not a problem. Is it how you usually like always make decisions?
How do you mean?
You making like always doing the due diligence, talking to like 5 other companies. Is it how you like always? Okay, cool. Now, are you like, do you ever feel like the way we make decisions kind of dictates the results we get in our life?
Guess I never thought about it.
Well, it's kind of like this, right? If someone's overweight and then they have to go wait until next day to go to the gym, like Monday, then that's going to dictate the results, right? So like decisions form actions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you ever feel like are you 100% happy with the results you're getting in your business right now in terms of leads?
No.
Yeah. So we already talked about that, right? So have you ever considered that? How are we going to get a different outcome making the same decisions you have been so far?
Yeah, but I still like to look at the other companies, like just performance-based wise.
Not a problem. And after you talk with all the different companies, how would you know which one to go with at that point?
Yeah, I guess just, I guess whichever is getting the best results then. Yeah, that's kind of what I look at the most.
And how would you know which one's going to get you the best results until you actually do it?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I definitely say that.
And that's the only reason why, because here's the thing, you hop on 5 more sales calls, they're probably gonna tell you like, make the same claims, right? If we can get 30 appointments or you don't pay some outlandish claim, right? We don't tell you that, right? But we tell you with X and Y and Z, like we talked about, we have the process for it. It's working out for our clients. But at the end of the day, you don't know until you actually do it. And now if that's the only way to find out and whether it's gonna work for you or not, I mean, brother, you've been procrastinating for the last 9 months. Where your business has been up and down. How much more time are you willing to waste? How much more frustration are you willing to deal with until you actually make a change?
Yeah,
Why?
that's pretty good, yeah.
Stripe link,
Yeah.
done.
Yeah,
How do you
Stripe
switch
link.
to the Stripe link?
After you do that, and then like, let's say he says whatever, right? I guess you're right. Oh, why am I right? So I'd have him convince himself. It's like, oh, because of da 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 da. Right. So I know it's difficult. I know it's hard, right? Because you just, I get it because you want to make the best decision for your business. But time doesn't wait, right?
Yeah.
So where should we go from here? So you loop back to sale. Whenever you get an objection, you do a reframe. So this is the fear objection, right? You have an objection, you have a reframe, and you loop back to the sale, right? So you can visualize it. So looping back to the sale, you can ask different looping questions, right? Where should we go from here? How should we proceed? What do you want to do from here? Those are different things you can ask.
Well, I don't know.
If you thought about it.
Well, I don't know.
What do you think you should do from what we talked about?
Maybe I need to think about it one more time and then we can.
Think about it more, like 9 more months, like more up and down.
That's literally, yeah.
You could do that.
No. Yeah, I think we should proceed.
You sure?
Yeah.
We don't have to.
Yeah, let's proceed.
You sure?
Yeah. What are you doing?
All right, let's go.
I like one tip. Alex Hormozy says he asked a soft close question. Would you have been opposed, or are you opposed to moving? Would you have been opposed to moving forward today had it not been for XYZ? Something like that. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, I think I've heard something like that. I mean, I love Hormozy's business stuff, and I think his sales stuff is good too. It's just like, I don't really talk like that in a regular context. So I like to be more conversational, right? You know how I did with him? It's like, you sure? You don't have to. You sure? All right. I guess we'll do it. I like to do it like that. Everyone's different, right? What works for Hormozy works for Hormozy. So this is the one thing I realized, right? So when I was DM setting, because I started as a DM setter, there's a guy that told me one time that there's no such thing as the truth, there's only your truth. Meaning that there's different variations of the truth. And one thing that boggles my mind, especially in the info space, is like, this is the only way to get to 10K, this is the only way to get to your desired outcome. That's not true. There's different ways you can do it. So this is how I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You just have like regular conversation, nothing too crazy, just.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, sales is kind of like a dance too, right? In the beginning, you're more casual and conversational and like more curious and playful. Later on, you're gonna challenge them more. But the assertiveness on your sales call increases, right? So in music, there's a term called crescendo. Like I said, I play music, right? So crescendo is, if you can imagine, the music note gets louder as time goes on. Like, right? So that's the assertiveness on the sales call. If you begin with like super authoritative guy, right? It's like, oh, you're broke, right? Yeah. Then they're gonna shut down because like, right? So in the beginning, you're slowly chipping away at it, more playful. Later on, you can challenge them more.
Yeah. When you write out your script, because at the end of the day, when you approach any sales calls, the questions you ask at the beginning are very important, right? Towards the end. How I structure it is I look at ways I can create pain. So for contractors I deal with, the biggest issues is shared leads, right? So I ask them like, all right, have you ever used Angie's Home Advisor? And they'll be like, yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit, shared leads. So I'm trying to root out more pain. Would you say that's the framework you should take to developing questions, or what kind of template or framework do you take to having questions to ask before you get to the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, it's a framework that we went over, I think, over here, right? So we go over what's the overarching outcome, what do you want? And the reason why is because I tried different frameworks where I started with the problem, right? So the first question I used to ask was, well, what's the biggest challenge you're dealing with right now? Yeah. And what I found the problem with that is that for a lot of people, it's almost like coming in like a wrecking ball, because people don't want to like admit their problem, especially the people that you guys are dealing with. They don't want to admit their problem. They're like, oh, I just want to get more leads, right? They're being very vague. And so what I found is it shuts them more, it makes them like just pull back more. So I found that it's better to go into the desired outcome. You don't need to know how much money you want to make. You don't need to know how many leads they want to get, but what's the overarching outcome, right? So if you can imagine, if you go to the airport people don't need to know what hotel or Airbnb you're staying at, but they do need to know, are you going to Paris? You going to, where are you going, right? So the overarching outcome is, well, I want to get more leads, I want to get more consistent leads, I want to get better quality leads. And then after that, what are you doing to get them now? What's the problem with it? And so on and so forth.
I usually say like, what sparked your interest to jump on this call with me today?
You could, but what I found the problem with that question is like, what sparked your interest, or what were you hoping to get out of the call, as an example, is that a lot of times they give you a vague answer.
Yeah, okay.
So they give you like, well, I just want to find out what you guys do.
Some of them, if you outbound it, they're like, oh, well, you approached me.
Exactly right. So like, I just wanted to get more info, right? So I found that it's not a productive conversation. So that's why I like to ask, like, well, do you know what kind of help you're looking for in your marketing?
Yeah.
As an example. So that's a more specific question, right?
So you say, so let's say you sit there, you say, hey, I want to ask a couple questions, get to know your business, that I can get into product. The first question you ask is, so what kind of help are you looking for in marketing today, or something like?
You know, I don't even do the frame. Is, well, you know, I just want to ask you some questions. I don't usually even do that, but depending on the situation. But typically, I go like, hey, let's say you do it on Zoom, right? It's like, hey, John, can you see me? Okay. Oh, cool, brother. Maybe you can ask like one small talk question, but I don't like to get into the whole like, how is the weather today? I don't like to do that, right? Especially in like where June and I come from. In our country, we don't do that. So I found it very weird. But I also understand that Americans do that. But when you do it too much, I've reviewed sales calls where they do the small talk for like 7 minutes. I'm like, bro, get to the point, right? So maybe ask like, how you doing today, right? Things like that. Like, how you doing? How's it going? Maybe you do that. Then after like, oh, cool, I know you booked a call about possibly getting more help with your marketing, right? They're like, yeah, that's right. Oh, do you know what kind of help you're looking for when it comes to getting help with your marketing? Yeah. And I like to progress it from there.
Okay, nice.
That's not the only way. There's more advanced ways of doing it, but it takes more skills, but it's a standard way of doing it, more duplicatable. So you go in and it's like, hey, John, can you see me okay? They're like, yeah, okay, cool. How you doing? Yeah, I'm doing good, da-da-da. Yeah, looks like you booked a call, but possibly getting help with your marketing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's right. Well, do you know what kind of help you're looking for when it comes to marketing?
Yeah, got you. Okay, cool.
You can also do this. If they ask you, like, you ask them, like, how are you, like, how you doing? And then they ask you, like, how are you doing? There's one rep I'm training. He goes like, oh, just being bald. Because he's bald.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, got you.
But it's like, I found that, like, his prospects, like, they just laugh, kind of like that, right? It's like, oh, how are you? It's like, oh, just being bald.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
That's a good one. I would laugh myself.
Yeah, they're like, what the fuck? I would do this. If I were to say that, I'm like, just being Asian.
So like most times I will establish like a problem. Like, let's say it's like bad quality of leads I've been having. So like it's kind of difficult for me to like go deeper with them together and like establish like pain, I guess, like in their mind, like reinforcing that problem more. I feel like sometimes I'll just move on too quick. So like, what would you recommend?
Well, I got to look at what you're doing. So let's do a quick role play.
So yeah, Johnny, like what kind of made you want to hop on the call with me today?
Just
Make sure he can mic the mic.
just yeah. I know you guys reached out to me, so just wanted to really see what you got going on.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'll dive in exactly to how we're helping our agents right now with all of their marketing and acquiring more listings. But first off, right now I just kind of want to get to know a little bit more about your situation and how everything's going. So what are you doing right now, I guess, to acquire more deals and get more appointments right now?
Like just referrals, word of mouth, really. That's pretty much it.
Okay, and how long have you been doing that for?
Forever, really.
Why have you been doing that for that long?
It's like
Speak louder.
it's all I've ever really known. Like the deals just come to me, so like they're pretty easy to close. So, yeah.
Okay, and how many deals exactly is it that you're doing right now in the last year?
Yeah, 24.
Okay, so 24 deals, and so do you feel like right now is it a bit inconsistent maybe in the terms of deals that you're getting from referrals? Is it a bit up and down here and there, or do you feel that it's pretty consistent?
I mean, it's good, but I'm just always looking to increase my production, do more, like from like the previous year. So like I'm fine with doing it, but I just could always do more.
Okay, and so like by doing more, like have you tried other things in the past to try to increase, like instead of your referrals as well, like bringing in other deals? Have you tried other research or other?
Yeah, I've tried like Realtor.com, Zillow, places like that, but like I didn't really get much success with that, really, to be honest. So I only tried it for a few months, and then the leads are just quite low quality.
Okay, so like you tried it for a bit, it was low quality, like people who were just curious, just looking around, didn't really, when you called them up, they didn't really know who you were, that kind of thing?
Yeah, pretty much that, yeah.
Okay, so why? See, like I feel like
No, it's so good. Okay, well, good job. I know there's like people watching, so I know it can be a bit nervous.
Yeah.
So no, I totally get it.
Yeah.
But you gotta be prepared.
I feel like
right?
it would be I would have done a little bit different on the
Yeah, no, I get it.
A few parts,
No, it's all good. That's what we're here for, right? So quick there is more conviction and more personality in your calls.
Okay.
Because what I found is right now your questions are like, oh, how long have I been doing that? It's very like monotone the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing your facial expression. And the thing with that is if you don't have much curiosity in the questions you're asking, then the other person has no reason to open up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because vulnerability is a very important thing. It's a very important thing. And so we gotta realize, because we do this every day, we hop on sales calls like maybe like 2, 3, like 5, 8 a day, right? So to us, we become numb to it, but we gotta realize these people, they have their guard up, right? Especially with this space. They've been burned before, whatever it may be, right? So you need time for curiosity. So instead of like, well, what are you doing not to get leads? Instead of saying that, it's like, oh, what are you doing not to get leads? Leaning in a little bit, body language, upward inflection, right? How long have you been doing that? Instead of saying, how long have you been doing that? Right? So having more curiosity will help you. And also you want to stay away from assumptive questions, right? So like, is it kind of up and down? Like the quality bad? Because typically, especially, do you sell to realtors or who do you sell to? Realtors especially, those are slippery motherfuckers, right? So I've sold to these people all day, right? So they're gonna start to shut down especially. It's like, I wouldn't say that. Not really. So they shut down more, it becomes like, you're not like backpedaling, right? So more open-ended questions. So how I like to do it, what do you do not to get referrals? That's good. And then he said like 7 months or whatever, right? So at that point, I'll be like, is it working? We can actually role play right now. Is it working? Okay, let's start with the positives. What is working?
Yeah, I mean, like the deals I get through, they're easy to close.
Okay.
Like they know, like
Yeah.
trust me already.
Okay. Sounds like it's going really well. Is there anything changed about either the way you're getting the leads, or I don't know, I guess the volume or the quality of the leads? If you
Yeah,
could.
just in the past couple of months, it's like slowed down, like the start.
Slow down in what way?
Yeah, like the deal flow's just been a lot lower than previous months.
How much lower?
So yeah, like past 2 months I've only done like one deal. Like other months
Yeah.
I've done like 3-4 deals a month. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
fluctuating.
Interesting. It sounds like a bit of like a roller coaster up and down a little bit. Is that right?
Yeah, kind of like that.
How long has it been going on?
Pretty much like the last 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. And what kind of impact is it having on the business though?
Oh, it just means that like I'm all right, but it just means that
Yeah.
having that inconsistency as a business owner is just like hard to predict, like when your next deal's coming through.
Yeah, exactly. You want to change that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's instead of saying like are you having a hard time? It's just like first, is it working? They say yes or no. So it gives, you know, in sales you might have heard like giving them an illusion of choice. So it gives them more control. They're gonna let their guard down. So is it working? And they're usually gonna go to the positive, especially realtors, right? Like it's working, or like yes and no. And then after that you can ask, it's called a two truths question. I learned from Jeremy. I think it's a guy named Michael Oliver originally came up with it. More old school guy. But you ask that, like, is there anything to change about either like X or Y, right? Either the way you're getting the leads, or the quality, or the quantity, if you could. So you're giving questions in a way where it's easier for them to answer, but still open-ended. So
A question. So you know you dived into like the pain. How's that affecting the business? After that point, would you sort of go into like the personal pain? So like you.
depending on the process, if they're mentioning, right? But not usually. You can do it later. Yeah. But that's how I would do it. And then you want to attach time frame to it. Like how long has it been going on? Because it agitates the pain, right? But the biggest thing for you is number one, like having those, right? Is more expressiveness. That'll help. And also you can come to me later. I can say some like free YouTube videos on it, on that, like different questions you can ask. That'll help as well. So you can just get some free stuff from it.
That helps. That makes sense. I think sometimes I am a little bit like I ask suggestive or like questions that already put an answer in their mind, and then maybe sometimes they shut down.
Yeah. Especially with these two realtors, they think they know what you're doing
Yeah.
because they're also salespeople. So here's the thing about selling salespeople and business owners, especially salespeople, is they need to see that you are better than them. And I don't mean in a way like in a human worth perspective. It's just like the way you talk, you gotta speak with conviction and authoritativeness a lot more. Because otherwise, they don't take you that seriously. Because they instantly judge you, especially realtors. They instantly judge you. Could I get away with giving this guy vague answers or no? And a lot of it comes from your conviction and stuff like that. Your conviction, and also, whenever they do give a vague answer, do you let them get away with vague answers? If they give whatever, and then okay, you move on to your next question, then you're training them on keep repeating that behavior. So they're gonna keep being vague through the entire sales call. At the end of what they say, they're like, yeah, let me think about it. But if you challenge them right away, it's like, oh, whatever. Oh, but really though, like what's going on? So you're not letting them get away with that, right? So it's like, okay, this guy I can't fuck around with, right? Again, it's not like combativeness, it's about like being leadership.
Would you be like more playful if you're talking to like a realtor?
Especially with salespeople, like you can fuck around. It's actually really fun. Yeah. So whenever they give an objection, right? It's like, I gotta think about it. You ever get that from your prospects?
Yeah, it's definitely always I gotta think about it.
Yeah. No, I mean like that's what I would say to the realtors. So they say like, oh, I gotta go think about it. You ever get that from your prospects? They're like, well, yeah. What do you say? Well, I try to close it. Why? Why not let them go? Well, because if they don't do anything. Right. So number one, you don't get commissions, but what about for the prospect, man? They're stuck with the same problem, right? They're like, yeah. So why should I let you be stuck with your problems? Well, I guess you're right. So with salespeople, it's actually like it's more fun because you break the fourth wall. You ever seen Deadpool, the movie? He breaks like, aha, that's a suspense. Like Deadpool does it, right? So you can do that on your sales calls too. Yeah. All right. You want to think of a question?
Yeah, a lot of these calls, they want to talk to like current clients.
Yeah.
Get around that objection.
Yeah. The question is, I want to talk to your current client's objection. So again, let's go back to why is this happening in the first place, right? So I want to talk to your current clients as a trust-based objection. So you want to categorize objection into different ones, right? Trust, now why do they not have trust? There's different reasons why it happens. Number one, on the sales call itself, you fucked up, meaning that they don't feel hurt. So maybe they already gave you an answer, but you asked them a question to get that answer again, so they're like, well, like I said. So they feel like they're repeating themselves, so they don't trust you. That could be one. Number two, it could be what I used to do was I wasn't speaking their lingo, so they didn't feel like I could help them with their solution, right? And so maybe, or like the pitch was weak, right? So that could be like, well, I just want to talk to your current clients, because like they don't trust you, so they got to talk to their current clients. Right, so how you prevent that is you gotta be very present and listening. If they already gave you the answer, you don't ask a question on that again, right? And vice versa, if you ask them a question, they don't answer it, you re-ask it and you rephrase it in a different way, so you do get the answer, right? Another thing too, you can typically sense that they're gonna give you an answer early in the discovery if they use a lot of third-party pronouns. So what I mean by that is you ask them a question about them, hey, is it affecting the business? Well, you live and learn. Oh, you sometimes, you asked about you, so they should be answering with I, but they keep saying like you. So what are they doing? It's very subtle, but what they're doing is they're abdicating responsibility, meaning that they're externalizing into a third party. Oh, I feel stressed. Oh, you feel stressed. Now, once or twice, I kind of let them go, but if it keeps happening, then I go like me or you? Oh, well, yeah, I'm stressed. So what does it do? More ownership. So it's very subtle here, but you can like start to see. If they keep saying like you, them, you can typically say, okay, is it gonna spouse objection or testimonial objection? So you gotta coach them on how to talk. You're literally training them on how to talk, because how they talk dictates their thoughts and beliefs and actions, right? So taking more ownership. Now, that's on the call itself. Before the call, send in the client case study videos with irrefutable proof. So I'll do it on both ends. Yeah, does that answer?
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty much it. And then you can take it as that. So thank you.
Bro.
Yeah, thanks, bro. My man.
No, thank you, man. That was really
That was good? Yeah? Good, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks so much.
That's
That was
good.
actually like super helpful.
Good, man. Yeah, you didn't get bored?
No,
Good.
not at all.
Good, bro.
Yeah, I just feel like there's so much stuff I'm gonna forget.
Dude, I'm trying to start
I need to
sales.
like